Hello, greetings. Welcome, everybody. I want to talk to you about your breath and your lungs some more. We've been talking a lot about that. Talking about the lungs seems to be important. Keeping our lungs healthy seems to be important. And really, the best way to keep your lungs healthy and strong is to practice doing what they were meant to do, which is breathing. Which means starting to get to know your diaphragm, because the diaphragm is the muscle that controls the breathing. And so often that gets all frozen due to fear and trauma and anxiety. And it can just get very hypertonic and make it difficult to breathe fully into your lungs consistently and regularly. There is a practice that you can do, that we can all do, to help free up the diaphragm, fill the lungs, bring awareness to this part of our body, while also creating a sense of calm and ease. This practice is called Sama Vritti Ratio. And Sama Vritti Ratio is the practice of, it's a 4-part breath where all 4 parts are the same, right? So Sama means same, right? And Vritti means changes. Those of you who know the Yoga Sutras know Chitta Vritti Nirodha, right? The fluctuations of the mind. So the ratio of the changes of the breath are the same. And so the changes of the breath, right? The different parts of the breath, the inhale and the exhale, obviously, and then the retention after the inhale and the retention after the exhale. So we would inhale for a time, right? We would let's say 4 count. We would hold the breath for a 4 count, and then we would exhale for a 4 count, and those would all be the same. And so the idea that we are witnessing, we're creating change, we're witnessing change, and we're remaining calm and present and breathing through that change, right? The change is actually the breathing, right? Instead of it being one activity, it's 4 activities, right? That is getting the same consciousness, care, and attention, right? And so what this allows us to do is to, on one hand, is start to create activity that is regular, right? So in this time, we have, our activities are all mixed up and we don't know what is what. And so this breathing practice is a practice of creating stability and regularity throughout change. And so there's that, right? And then on the other hand, we're training ourselves to remain calm as activity happens. So there's a doing and then there's a being. So there's the being of just being balanced, right? And what this allows us to do is just sort of hold the moment, right? So that these never-ending moments that are changing and shifting, right? We're able to hold them with tenderness or openness or wisdom or whatever quality you choose, right? So the idea is that through the practice of witnessing and taking some control over the breath, we're cultivating our ability to choose instead of being kind of whipped by the way our pain body, the way our wounding relates to external forces, right? So this is a big deal, right? This is sort of a big part of what yoga and meditation is all about, is that having a choice about how we relate, right? Yoga, being union, being relationship, right? Asana, right, is a relationship to the earth, right? So it's not necessarily about just going inside, right? It's about how we cultivate an inside that relates to the outside in a way that is consistent with our goals, right? So one thing I want to note is that when we are doing this breath, we don't want to overdo it. Sometimes we want to overcount or overextend the breath, and then at the end of that exhale hold, we sort of have to, we're holding it, we're stressing ourselves out even more. So that's, you're trying to prove something, right? It's like, that's pain body stuff again, right? There's nothing to prove, right? We're resting in breath, right? I know I talked about effort and things, but there's also this resting. And I want to kind of deconstruct Sama, right? Because here's why. Because when you're breathing, you can count. You can count 1, 2, 3, 4. Or you can put a mantra in there, right? You can put, I am that. You can chant, I am that to yourself quietly 4 times. You can chant, be here now, right? Any sort of thing. You can chant Sama, right? Sama is actually a beautiful mantra. Sa means the infinite self, right? And Ma means the mother, right? It's like the mother Ma is the mother energy. And so we sort of see that there's this infinite quality and there's this feminine quality in this mantra. And so there's this idea that we're sort of being almost held, just as we want to be able to hold a moment with equanimity, we realize that we're being held by the mother, right? Which is great for anxiety. If you just sort of, if that's acceptable to your belief system, that you might be in the lap of the Divine Mother being held, then that can be really sweet. Another good mantra that sort of relates to this is the Hamsa mantra, or So-Hum. So you might have heard of Hamsa or So-Hum. So-Hum means I am. Hamsa means I am that, right? So it's like I am the infinite. Aham. Aham is I am. And then, so that's the individual self. And then Sa is the infinite self again. And so they say that the breath itself makes this mantra, Ha on the inhale and Sa on the exhale. And so there's this sort of relating of starting to recognize the infinite part of yourself that is comfortable even in the midst of trouble, right? Or potential threat. So this mantra is good anytime, right? I did it right before I did this practice, right? This 4-breath Sama Vritti ratio is I did this with Om Namah Shivaya, right? Which is sort of Shiva is another Sa, right? He's an infinite self. He's sort of the eternal yogi. So you're sort of tapping into the eternal energy. We can do more on Shiva another time. But the idea, that's just a mantra that I've been using with that for years. But I did this practice right before this, and it made me as calm as I am. So this is really good for daily practice whenever you need it. It's also really good if you have to go out. If you have to go to the grocery store or to work or something like that, and it's freaking you out. It's just really good. You can do this practice in motion. You can do this practice with activity, right? Walking. I once discovered many years ago that I could do this in IKEA and I wouldn't buy as much stuff, right? So, and I tested, it's like I noticed that like, like IKEA is sort of designed for you to like grab little tiny whatnots and just fill your cart, and it adds up and it adds up. And what I found is that when I did this breath practice in IKEA, then I pretty much got what I needed and I got out and I didn't spend more money than I had to. And so, especially now when we're out and about, we have to be concerned about social distancing and, did that person walk too close, and all of these things that can upset us. Am I grabbing a can of tuna that has the virus on it, right? If we're freaking out like that, then we can do the breath and it will help a lot. So that is Sama Vritti ratio in a nutshell. Layer mantra on it, layers thoughts of well-being, layer thoughts of the divine on top of it, and reach out to me if you need support. And we're doing a lot of online stuff, yoga classes and talks and things like that. So I hope you will continue to join us, and just so many blessings. Be well. Bye.